I have a 16 by 14 feet bedroom. Give me 3 designs on how to arrange furniture. Also give me a list of the furniture I should buy given this budget. No way! So it gives me 3 different designs, and for each one it gives me a unique list of products I should buy with the total budget cost, plus it even has links to the products I should buy. This is ridiculous! Create a simulation of a colony of bacteria evolving. Let's see what that gives us. Holy smokes, it's actually searching the scientific literature for how bacteria should evolve. It's not just coming up with some random simulation. And here's the simulation. Let's press start. That's insane! And look at all these different settings. You can adjust temperature, pH, initial nutrients. It has all these different view modes. Oh my gosh, you can even select each bacterium to view its details. Let's do that. Holy smokes! It has the energy amount, its age, its generation, plus even its genes. Plus here is a chart showing the entire population, including its genetic diversity and average fitness. Absolutely ridiculous. Alright, what about this? Make a financial analysis report on the 5 largest companies on NASDAQ. And here's what we get. Complete with interactive graphs. I mean, this is a super comprehensive and detailed financial analyst report. Absolutely incredible. What about create an online course on high school physics? Let's see what that gives us. Holy smokes. Let's click on the first module. So let's click on start learning. And here's the first lesson, complete with graphs and visualizations. Let's click on try simulation. Let me adjust the sliders here and then click on start. This is insane. And then we can also take a knowledge check, which looks like this. This is so thorough. All right, what about this? Conduct a full SEO audit of my site. No way. Look at all these metrics. Here's a technical SEO analysis, content assessment. It even includes how many backlinks I have to my sites, plus my domain authority. Holy smokes. This is the most impressive AI tool I've come across yet. It's called Manus, and this seriously has the potential to disrupt jobs and industries. It's basically an AI agent that can autonomously analyze data, or search the web and synthesize information for you, or it can even code up an entire app for you. Everything it does is super thorough, plus it also checks and verifies everything to ensure that it's correct and working properly. Now, in the past few years, we've seen other AI agents that could also do things autonomously, but honestly, the quality is pretty bad. Like, most of them would get stuck in endless loops, even on simple tasks. Or the data analysis is just mediocre, or they would even hallucinate and make stuff up. But Manus is probably the first AI agent I've come across that doesn't have these limitations. Now, I've spent the past few days testing the hell out of this agent to get a sense of what it can and cannot do. So in this video, I'm going to show you how good Manus is, what are some cool use cases for it, and what are some limitations. Plus, we'll talk about specs and performance and benchmarks as well. You'll get a better sense of how Manus works once I show you some demos. So let's jump right in. Alright, so once you log in, the dashboard is like this. It's basically a chatbot. You can upload an image for it to analyze if you want, and then you can choose between 2 different modes. There's a standard mode for everyday tasks, which would run a bit faster, or there's this high effort mode, which employs longer chain of thought. Now, of course, this is going to take a lot more compute, and it's going to take a longer time for this to run. For now, I'm going to go with standard, and let's try this. Make a comprehensive financial analysis report on the 5 largest companies on NASDAQ. Include graphs and infographics. Make it visually appealing. This is a key phrase I like to use throughout my prompts for Manus, just to make the report look a bit nicer. And then check thoroughly that everything works in the browser. This is also a key phrase I like to use because I want a fully working result. I don't want to open up something and then encounter some errors and then copy and paste the error back to this. Like, there's too much back and forth. I just want it to check that everything works, and if not, fix the issues first before it gives me the final result. And then deploy it to a permanent production site. If I don't do this step, basically it only creates this in a temporary site or a sandbox environment, and you can't actually access it again the next day. Anyways, let's click generate and see what that gives us. All right, so here's what makes Manus amazing. First, if you click on this, you can see that it has created a to-do list for itself. And if you open that up, here's the to-do list. So you can see here, identify the 5 largest NASDAQ companies by market cap, collect financial data for each company, analyze financial data, create visualization and charts, build interactive web report, test web report in browser, deploy to production. Very thorough. All right, so then it goes ahead and actually searches the web to find the 5 largest companies based on market cap. So you can see it even like browsing the web. So if you click on each of these steps, you can see a snapshot of it actually using the browser and searching for the information it needs online. And then afterwards here it says it has completed identifying the 5 largest companies. So if we click on this to-do list again, you can see that it has ticked off the first section. So the next section is to collect financial data for each company. So it goes on and on. It's analyzing financial data for the 5 largest companies. And then here's the amazing part. It has encountered this CSV parsing error along the way. And then after troubleshooting, it's now fixing this all by itself. So finally, it has completed the financial analysis successfully. So if you click on this to-do list again, you can see that it has ticked off the following sections. Okay, so next up, it's moving on to create engaging data visualizations and financial charts. And it looks like it's using a Python package called matplotlib and Seaborn to actually create these graphs. All right, so afterwards it says it has successfully created all the visualizations. Next, it's moving on to build this interactive web report. And then again, the nice thing is it's also testing this in its browser to make sure it actually works. All right, so here's the link to the final report, and it looks amazing. So here we can see all 5 companies. Here's an interactive graph. And then over here, it even created this graph on its own, comparing the market cap of all 5 companies. It even gave me this comparison chart, comparing all 5 companies with 5 different metrics, including 1-year return, 5-year return, volatility, Sharpe ratio, and beta. You can also see some additional interactive charts over here and over here. And then next, it even helped us assess risk of all these companies. So it graphed everything out like this. And then here's another chart of risk assessment. And then after analyzing risk, it also analyzed growth trends. So it's plotting the annual growth of all 5 companies, plus the compound annual growth rate. And then it's also comparing other financial metrics here, like the PE ratio, dividend yield, revenue growth, and profit margin. So an insanely detailed and thorough financial report of these companies. It even gives us some investment insights depending on the type of investor you are. So if you're prioritizing growth, then Nvidia presents the best option. If you're prioritizing value, then Alphabet offers the most attractive valuation with the lowest PE, and then etc., etc. So, I mean, if you're a financial analyst, I'd start to be slightly worried about your job if I were you. This is an insanely detailed report. All right, next, let's try this. Conduct a full SEO audit of my site, aisearch.io. Let's click enter and see what that gives us. All right, so first it's proceeding to analyze the website homepage. It's actually browsing my site. And then if we scroll down a bit, notice it's even analyzing my robots.txt, my sitemaps. It's even going to this page speed analysis tool and then typing in my site and then finding the metrics it needs. Holy smokes. And then it even goes to another site to check how many backlinks I have and check my site's domain authority. That's pretty crazy. Notice it's going to some other sites as well. So here's GT metrics, and it's also typing in my URL and then scraping the report from this page. So afterwards, it gave me a text audit report, which looks like this. But then I said, make it visually appealing and turn it into a web page. So finally, if we scroll to the bottom, it has deployed this to a permanent URL. And if we click into this, here's the full SEO report in a nice looking page. How insane is that? It includes all these performance metrics, which are actually accurate. It includes key strengths, key issues. Here's a technical SEO analysis report. And all of these findings are actually accurate. It even analyzes my robots.txt, it analyzes my sitemap, and then here's some on-page evaluation, including analyzing the header, plus keyword usage. internal linking, and then it assesses the content throughout my pages. It even found how many backlinks there are to my site. These are like other sites on the internet that are linking to my site. Plus, it analyzes my domain authority, and it even includes the number of backlinks I have throughout the past 3 years. And then here are some additional performance metrics, and recommendations, and conclusion. So this is super impressive. Honestly, if I was a marketer or an SEO agency, I would be extremely worried about my job if I were you. Okay, next, let's try this. Create a page where I upload a video, and I can choose to transform the video into the following: halftone dots, distorted waves, dripping paint effect, or other cool effects. Allow me to preview the original video and transformed video side by side, and then be sure to import all required libraries and dependencies on the page. This is another key phrase that I like to use because sometimes it's just missing the import statements for various packages like 3.js, and if you don't import these packages, then the animations or the visualizations won't actually run. And then finally deploy it to a permanent production site. Let's click generate. And again, here's what I really love about Manus. If it hits some error, so here it says, I encountered a temporary timeout issue with the sandbox environment. Let me try again to set up the project. So it autonomously detects and fixes issues. And then afterwards, it has created the application structure. It continues adding all these functionalities to the application. And it also added 2 more effects, which are pixelate and glitch. Okay, so next it says I'm going to make sure all the necessary UI components are available and then test the application functionality. So again, after testing everything, if you scroll down here, sometimes it does prompt me to click accept before it starts publishing to a public URL. So I clicked accept here, and then finally it gave me this URL. So let's click on this and test it out right now. The initial design is kind of weird, but whatever. Let's test if this actually works. So I'm going to upload this video, and then let's click play, and you can see that it's now turning this video into this halftone dots effect. Now let's click on distorted waves and see what happens. All right, so it's adding this like wavy effect to the video. And then next, let's click on dripping paint. So that's what it looks like. Not the effect I was expecting, but it does kind of look like dripping paint, or at least rain. Those are just my specified effects from the prompt. I'm sure it can do better, so let's look at the effects that it has added. So next we have pixelate, and indeed it pixelates the video. Very nice. And then we also have this glitch effect, which does this. Super cool. So, I mean, with just one prompt, this AI can create a fully functional video effects editor like this. Alright, here's an even crazier demo. So the prompt is create an interactive simulation of a colony of bacteria evolving under different environmental conditions. Include adjustable settings. This is another key phrase I like to use just to make the app more interactive. And then check thoroughly that everything works in the browser. Then deploy to a permanent production site. Let's click generate and see what that gives us. Alright, so first it's planning all the steps involved to carry out this task. And again, it's creating this to-do list. So if we click on this, you can see the to-do list here. Research phase, research all these concepts. And in the development phase, code everything up. Testing phase, make sure everything works. And then deploy it to a production environment. Alright, so next step, you can see it's searching for information on the internet. It's actually trying to look for how bacteria would grow in real life. Even though I did not expect it to do that, I just wanted to create a simple simulation of a colony of bacteria evolving. It actually took the effort to search the academic literature and find out how exactly bacteria evolves. How insane is that? And then here's another article that it's searching up. If you click on like each of these steps, it would actually show you the agent browsing through all this information in its native web browser. Anyways, afterwards, it has completed the research phase. And then based on the research, we'll need to model factors like temperature, pH, nutrient availability, and spatial distribution, allowing bacteria to evolve based on selection pressures. This is way more complicated than I expected it to do. But anyways, it's proceeding to set up the web app for this. Here it has encountered a syntax error in the app.js file. Let me fix this issue by renaming the file to app.jsx, etc., etc. Note that it's just figuring this out all on its own. I didn't paste in any error message. It's just autonomously testing and making sure everything works, which is fantastic. This is the type of AI agent that requires minimal handholding and is actually useful. And then afterwards, here is the completed project. So let's click on this link. Okay, here it gave us a ton of controls like temperature, pH, initial nutrients, flow rate. Let's just click start first and see what that does. Whoa, pretty cool. All right, so if we decrease the temperature to, 18, and then initial nutrients, let's decrease that to 20. Let's click reset and then click start. Very interesting. And then note that we can specify these different visualization controls. If we click on nutrients, it does this. If we click on temperature, it does that. If we click on pH, it does this. All right. And then here it says bacteria details. Click on a bacterium to view its details. No way. Let me click on this. Oh my gosh. It even gives me the ID, the position, the energy, the age, and the generation, plus the genes that this particular bacterium has. And then it even has statistics, so it gives us the population, the genetic diversity, the average fitness over time. So if I reset this and play it again, let's take a look at this statistics window and see what happens. Oh my god. That's crazy. As we run the simulation, it plots all this data in real time on these graphs. Plus, here's some environment information. All right, next, let's toggle some other settings. So at the top here, we have this bacteria tab, and we can even adjust the growth rate. So initial population, let's keep it at 10. Growth rate, let's slow this down to, 0.05. Initial population, let's set this to 4, and then click reset and click start. And there you go. All right, and then for simulation, let's set the time step to 0.1 just to slow this down. Flow rate, let's see what this does. So I'm going to increase it by a bit, and then the flow direction, I'm going to set this to, 40 degrees, and then click reset, and then click start. Very interesting. So it looks like the bacteria are flowing down to the lower right corner. Anyways, this page is so insane. I'm going to share this link with you in the description below. So actually, if we go back here, at the top here, you can click this share button, and then I will click on public access and then copy the link and paste it in the description below. Definitely check this out. It created all of this just with one initial prompt, 0 shot. I mean, this is a truly mind-blowing moment for me. All right, next prompt, create an interactive online course on high school physics. Just give me 2 modules to start. If I like it, then we can continue further, and then check thoroughly that everything works in the browser, deploy to a permanent production site. Let's click enter and see what that gives us. All right, so let's see what it does. Here's the to-do list. So again, it's researching and planning everything. Then it's going to develop the application. It's going to develop the 2 modules and then test everything and then deploy it to production. And then it goes on and does its thing, and eventually it does prompt me to hit this accept button before it can deploy to a public site, which I did, and then here's the final URL. So let's check this out. Very nice. This is a full web page with a course on high school physics. So let's click on this first module. It has a nice overview with learning objectives and module structure. Let's click on start learning, and here we have all these lessons. So let's just click on the first lesson. So here's the first lesson, complete with nice visualizations and graphs like this, plus examples and formulas. Very, very nice. And then it even has an interactive simulation. Let's test this out. All right, so let me, drag this initial velocity to somewhere over here. Acceleration, let me drag this over here, and then click start. Very, very interesting. And then if we scroll down, there's even a knowledge check. So here's a fully interactive quiz that you can fill out. How insane is that? And then if we move on to the next lesson, again, it comes complete with nice visualizations. And then it also has an interactive simulation. So let's test this out. Let's try a higher force, friction, high friction, and then let's click apply force. Very interesting. So that's what this does. And then if we click on the knowledge check, it comes complete with a full quiz that you can do. This is so comprehensive. I mean, if you're a tutor or a teacher, or if you own an education app, I'd start to worry about my job if I were you. here's yet another example. So the prompt is find and summarize the 3 most recent US Supreme Court cases on qualified immunity for law enforcement officers. Include images, graphs, or infographics if necessary. Make it visually appealing. Let's click generate and see what that gives us. Alright, so let's see its thinking process. First, it's going to search the web for these Supreme Court cases. So if you click on this, you can see it actually finding all these sources from the internet. And then it's going to analyze the top 3 cases in depth. So it's even browsing this PDF. So unlike some other agents, this one can even read and analyze PDFs like this. So let's scroll down a bit. Okay, so next, if you click on this to-do list, you can see that it has found the top 3 cases, and then it's moving on to these next steps. Finally, it's going to deploy this to a public URL. So again, it's asking me to accept this, which I did, and then afterwards, it has deployed it here. So let's click on this and see what that gives us. And here we go. We have a nice introduction. Here is a nice graph of the recent cases, and if you hover over each one, notice that it even gives you some information. So this is very interactive. And then if we scroll down a bit, here are the case summaries. So it ain't making this stuff up. It's actually getting all of this from information on the internet. Here's another example. Here's yet another example. And then we also have a really cool case comparison across all these factors. And then if we scroll down a bit, we have some further interactive charts. And then if we scroll down a bit, here are some more graphs, plus it gives us a conclusion. I'm just so impressed by this tool. And I mean, if you're a legal analyst or assistant, I don't even know what they call these jobs, but I would start to get worried about your job if I were you. All right, let's try this. I have a 16 by 14 feet bedroom. Give me 3 designs on how to arrange furniture. Also give me a list of the furniture I should buy with links. My budget is $10,000 and I'm in the US. Check thoroughly that everything works in the browser, then deploy to a permanent production site. Let's click enter and see what that gives us. All right, so it just goes through the process of designing everything and then finding the furniture. And then afterwards, it prompts me to click this button to deploy to the public network, which I did. And then here is the final URL. So let's click on this and holy smokes, here is what we get. So here is one design. So this is modern minimalist, and it even lists all the products here with the price and the total budget of everything it lists out here. And then here's cozy traditional, which looks like this. And then here's contemporary mix, which looks like this. You can even download a budget report. Okay, so it looks like it just downloads some MD file. All right, so if I open that up in Chrome, it basically lists all the different designs, and then it lists all the furnitures with the actual links to the furniture. Again, just a really comprehensive report on, the furniture I should buy and how I should arrange them in my bedroom. If I were an interior designer, I would start to get worried about your job if I were you. All right, next, let's try this. This is a prompt that I've tested with Claude 3.7 as well as Grok 3. Let's see if this Manus agent can do any better. So the prompt is dynamic periodic table where users hover over elements to see properties and electron configurations with animations for atomic structure. So let's click generate and see what that gives us. All right, so let's see its step-by-step thinking. First, it's going to create this using React. Okay, so next it has implemented all these features. It's going to start the development server and test all these features in the browser to make sure everything works. Okay, so next it's attempting to deploy this to a public URL, in which case I need to click this accept button. And then afterwards it has given us this URL. So let's click on this. And here is what we get. Here is a full periodic table. Let's click on hydrogen first. And then if we scroll down, here it gives us all the stats for hydrogen. Notice that this is way more comprehensive than Claude 3.7 or Grok 3. Plus it gives us this atomic structure and electron configuration. And this is correct. There is one shell with one electron in the orbit. Plus down here, it even gives us a legend which labels the different types of elements on this table. Next, let's look at something like boron. So if we scroll down, indeed, this electron configuration is correct. And then let's look at something like cobalt. And again, all of this looks correct to me. Here is selenium, and here we go. So this is a fully functional periodic table with so much information, with an animation for atomic structure, and this is all from just one prompt. You can see with Manus, you can easily generate interactive educational resources for yourself or for your kids. Alright, next let's try something that is very dear and important to some people on this planet. And this is regarding people with some really rare diseases that don't have any cures. One of those diseases is fatal familial insomnia, which, as the name implies, you could die from this, and this disease is super rare, so there is currently no cure for it. So if you know someone with a rare disease, let's see if we can get Manus to actually come up with a full report on all the research on this disease so far and possibilities of cures. So here the prompt is: the patient has fatal familial insomnia. Research everything about the subject and suggest next steps or possible ideas for cures. Let's see what that gives us. Alright, so it's proceeding to search the web and then browsing through all these results on fatal familial insomnia. It's clicking on multiple scientific articles to learn more about it. So here's another example. And then it continues to research the symptoms, progression, current treatments, potential experimental approaches. So it's browsing through other sites and resources on the internet. And then it proceeds to research current treatments and management approaches and potential future directions. So again, it continues browsing the web for different resources. So here's another one. And after doing that, it says, I've completed my research on current treatments and management approaches. And then now it's researching ongoing studies and experiments that might lead to potential treatments or cures in the future. So again, it's browsing through all these results and then clicking on each one, reading everything. And then after digesting and synthesizing all this information, here's what it found. And then finally, if we scroll down to the bottom, here it says it has completed the comprehensive research. And here's the final report. So let's open this. Up here, you can also save this to a PDF or download it if you want to, but let's just read it over here. So here's an executive summary, table of contents. Here's the genetic basis and causes of this disease. It lists out everything for you, and then symptoms and progression. So here's what happens in stage 1, which lasts 3 to 6 months, and then stage 2, which lasts 5 to 9 months, stage 3, stage 4, which is complete ability to sleep, dementia, eventually coma, followed by death. And then here are the key symptoms. So it lists all of these symptoms that this patient could experience, plus different disease variants. And then finally, here are some current treatments and managements. Note that there is no cure for FFI. Treatment focuses primarily on these things. There is no standard protocol for managing symptoms. So standard of care approaches, here are some approaches to manage the disease. And then over here, it lists out the ongoing studies and experimental approaches for potential treatments. So here is one potential. It describes the experiment and the current status and the significance. Here's another study. Here are some other experimental approaches. And then here are next steps and potential cures. And it lists all of these out. So a super thorough and comprehensive report. You can see how this can be especially important if you know someone who has this issue. I mean, even the best doctors in the world would not know much about this disease. This is an extremely rare disease which has no cures. So that's another use case for Manus or other AI agents. It's scraping the web and synthesizing all the knowledge out there on some really rare topics like this. Alright, next let's test Manus's ability to code. Now, note that this is not its strength. The strength of Manus is automating tasks and also searching for information, analyzing data, and synthesizing all that data. But nevertheless, let's try a coding example and see if it can figure this out. So the prompt is create a 3D city with skyscrapers and diverse architectures. It should have at least 80 buildings, make the design and visuals look amazing, include sliders for different effects, and then the rest of my key phrases that I like to use. So let's click generate and see what that gives us. Alright, so it goes on and does its thing, and then it looks like it's using Three.js to do the 3D simulations, and then if we scroll down a bit, it looks like it has decided to include a weather effects system, a traffic system, day and night cycle, camera position presets. Holy smokes. And then here are some additional things it does to enhance the visual quality. Anyways, if you scroll all the way here, it prompts me to click this button to deploy it to a public site, which I did. And here's the final site. So let's click on this. Holy smokes. Let me adjust the time of day first to make this brighter. Notice as I adjust the time of day, do you see the reflection of the sun rising over here? That is so cool. So all right, I think this is too bright, so let me set this to something like this. Okay, and then let me zoom out a bit. For the weather, let's see what weather does. Whoa, that's crazy. It even includes clouds here, and it looks like it's making it snow or something. Holy smokes, this is crazy. What if I drag the weather even further? Okay, it looks like it's gonna make a snowstorm or something. This is so cool. All right, let me turn this weather function off so we just get a clear and crisp city. What does this wireframe mode do? Let me click on this. Okay, so it makes these buildings into wireframes instead of opaque walls. Let me turn this off again. So now we have opaque buildings, and then building count. Let me actually zoom out to an aerial view. And then if I adjust this building count slider, notice that the building count does decrease. If I increase the building count slider, it does increase the number of buildings in this city. Super cool. And notice the buildings all have unique shapes and architectures. Let me decrease this a bit. And it looks like we have different camera presets here. So let's click on Street View. Okay, so I guess that zooms into a street view. And then let's click on Aerial. So this is like a top-down view. And then Skyscraper is like midway. And then look at all these cars driving around. If we increase the traffic density, it indeed increases the number of cars in this simulation. Note, however, that the cars are not actually driving along the roads, so that's one flaw I can point out here. This is a very cool simulation. So there you go. Here is a city with different buildings and architectures with adjustable settings. Next, let me also show you some cool use cases from other users. So here, this person has uploaded a recording of a lecture, and then it simply prompts it to transform this lecture recording into a lecture note. So again, it proceeds to do its thing, and then after multiple steps, let's skip all the way down to the results, and then let's click on this page. How insane is that? Just from one lecture recording, it's able to transcribe everything and then turn it into an interactive lecture report, complete with formulas with the correct format, complete with these interactive graphs. Here's another formula with another graph. This is so detailed and comprehensive. And then if we scroll down a bit, we have all these different functions that were probably mentioned in the lecture notes. And then here it decided to give us a nice pie chart. Plus it even gives us some practice problems. Super cool. Here's another cool example from another user. So here they got Manus to design an interactive web page that explains the transformer architecture with clear visuals and engaging elements. So again, it plans a to-do list and then it goes ahead and does its thing. It goes online and researches this transformer architecture, and then afterwards it gives the user a staging site. So if we click on this right now, it's not going to work. So that's why the user prompts it to publish it to a public URL. And so afterwards, the user needed to click the accept button, and then here's the final website. So again, a really thorough and beautifully designed website. Let's click on Start Learning, and here's what that looks like. By the way, if you're not familiar with the transformer architecture, this is the foundation behind all the AI language models we know today. So here it's like breaking down how it actually processes and generates text. Very cool. And then here it introduces the formula, and then you can play around with these sliders. Very, very cool. So again, even with super complex topics like AI architectures, you can just prompt Manus to give you an interactive course on it. This is going to disrupt education as we know it. Okay, so that sums up my tests and examples on Manus. Note that currently this is in private beta, so I'm sure a lot of its features might change in the near future. And even though it's great for many things, there are some huge limitations that I've hit. First of all, it does everything in its own temporary sandbox environment. So you can't get it to use your own browser and control accounts that you're already logged into. So for example, you can't get it to reply to emails or automatically post on social media because it's not logged into any of your accounts in its temporary sandbox environment. But by the way, if you do want to get an AI agent to automatically reply to emails or do things in your own browser, definitely check out this video where I feature another AI agent called Do Browser, which can actually do that really well. Another huge limitation of Manus is this is painfully slow. Because this is an AI agent framework, it does things in multiple steps and it usually takes at least 20 minutes for it to give you a final answer. So you should not use this for simple stuff like writing or doing some minor coding edits. Remember, Manus is for multi-step thinking and deep research. So only use this if you need to find information from various different sources or automate a really complicated workflow. So those are some of the biggest limitations of Manus. Next, let's move on to its performance. So if you go to their homepage, they do show the performance of Manus for this Gaia benchmark. Now, unfortunately, this is the only benchmark reference we have on how good Manus is compared to other AI agents. But anyways, this Gaia benchmark is used to evaluate AI agents on solving real-world problems. And get this, if you compare Manus, which is the black bar, with OpenAI's Deep Research, which is the current best competitor, notice that Manus beats Deep Research on all three levels of questions from this Gaia benchmark. So this is already really impressive, especially considering that OpenAI is planning to charge $20,000 a month for these types of agents. And the crazy thing is, the CEO did mention that at least part of this code will be open sourced. So stay tuned for that. For now, Manus is in closed beta only, and you do need an invitation code to access it. Let me know in the comments if you would like an invitation code. I do have connections with the Manus team, so I could potentially ask them to spare some codes for you guys. But note that these codes are in really heavy demand right now, so I can't promise anything. So that sums up my review of Manus. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this. Do you think it has the potential to disrupt many industries around the world? Or do you think this is just overhyped? If you already have access to this, what was your experience with it so far? What other cool use cases or examples were you able to come up with? And if you don't have access, let me know what you would like to use this for. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.